Yeah, make some ghost accounts. I mean, that's all who follows us is just accounts of AI people I've made up.
It's sex bots or accounts that we've made. Yes.
Ooh, sex bots.
Yeah, dude, we're that good.
Ooh. All right, buddies. Well, let us know what y'all thought. Give us a follow. We love you guys. Thank you for listening. Brett, what would you rate this?
You know
this little
what?
thing?
This first episode back, I'm rating this a 9.6.
I'm doing a 9.6. Yeah, me too. Me too. This was good.
Lucas, this was a good.
Bye, buddies.
Bye.
And a 3, 2, 1. Now. Stop it now. Did you already stop it? You weren't recording the whole time? God damn it!
Go.
Okay. Is it check the levels?
How well? Okay.
Check your levels.
I don't know what that is. I haven't done this podcast in like a month.
Yeah, I know.
And so I've kind of forgotten what it's about. What
has it been weird?
How we do it? No. I mean, I've gotten back to my.
Were you
life.
just so busy like that you couldn't even really think about it?
Well, no.
Because it was weird for me.
It was more like I finally had this weight, this like annoying weight off my shoulders.
Okay.
No, dude, it was very weird, and I was trying to find so many ways to record this podcast.
Yeah, because you had some time there, like you were stuck in Austin, dude. Like that must have sucked.
The plan was I was gonna drive to Seattle with my friends, and my friends were gonna drive the U-Haul. We were all driving together. My transmission broke down 2 hours into the 40-hour trip.
Oh my god, I can't believe it.
So I went back. The car is the cost of the repairs exceeds the car's cost. So we're like, we're gonna sell that. We're done with it. So
the car is not even worth the cost of the transmission.
No.
At this point.
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the transmission is a pretty rough part of the vehicle. You want that to be...
it's kind of essential.
Yeah, it's kind of the last thing you want to break down.
Yeah, that's true. I've always heard, like, the transmission's really expensive to replace. But it's just so crazy that it's just like, your car is not even worth the transmission that it would take to get it to run.
Yeah.
It's like, holy fuck.
I mean, I guess my car...
What a way to think about it.
My car's a decade old at this point.
Right.
And
you've put it through... put it through some shit.
I put it through some stuff. Constant band meetings from Austin to San Marcos twice a week. Jobs in Austin.
Verbal abuse.
Yeah, I never like took it to a car wash because I didn't want to spend money on it.
Yeah, you told it that it wasn't worth the soap.
I told it every single day that it wasn't worth the soap.
You're like, you're a dirty girl.
And look, I'll be the first to say it was a sexual thing.
Yeah. She broke my heart.
But I don't like all these articles talking about it. It's private.
People don't understand us. You guys are autophiles.
So I was basically I've been unemployed for a month. I've been without a computer up until today. Since
we couldn't
March
record the
1st.
podcast because all of your equipment was en route to its destination.
Yep.
And then you were stuck in Austin, not knowing if you should tell anyone that you're even there, because you're like, dude, I already said bye to everyone. Like it's like it'd be awkward to see people again, or
it's not even that it'd be awkward. It's just that like we kind of all had these goodbyes with such an essence of finality that like it would kind of be an emotional toll on me if I had to do that again.
Yeah, I definitely understand. I went through that last year.
And so for the most part, if no one asked, I didn't tell them anything. But yeah, I just had no real way of recording the podcast, and I had nothing to do. And
dude, I almost thought about doing it on your fucking iPhone, and then I immediately thought no, but I was like, dude, how can we get this to happen? Like, does your mom not have a desktop computer? Like, is there, like I was trying to think of so many ways to do it, but then hey, like I got to do the episode with Andy, and that was really fun. Got to listen to some AFI. That was fucking really fun to be able to talk about that.
And I still haven't had a chance. I downloaded the episode.
I haven't even listened to your own podcast.
Well, it's not mine if I'm not on it. So
you're like, what do I care? But I only want to hear my jokes.
I assume y'all only said good things about me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've never heard you sound like that before.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited to listen to it. I'm saving it for a bad day, when I'm really feeling down, and
when it's really rainy,
and it's something to boost me back up. I'm missing home. I'm missing my friends. I'm missing money that I used to have that I don't have anymore.
Well, good thing we don't need money to listen to fucking good music.
That's right. Only $10.99 a month, or $17.99 a month for YouTube Music.
Oh yeah, that's right. So you do need money to listen to good music.
A little bit, but I did the origins of this album. Well, I guess we got to start with what's up, buddies? Welcome to the Earbuds Podcast. It is the first good episode since last month. I am, of course, as always, your permanent co-host, and you can't kill me as hard as you try, Brett Hanran. With me,
I thought of a nickname, but it's mean.
Oh, all right.
But it was just supporting what you were saying, where you're like, you can't get rid of me.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Call you Brett the Cockroach Hanran.
Okay, great.
I didn't want to say it.
And with me, as always, is Lucas the Cockroach Intricov.
Yeah, you can't get rid of me.
You've been on.
Every single fucking episode.
You've been on every episode. I've missed 2 of them.
Yes.
So I think maybe this next month, maybe you just let me have it.
Nah.
And I could no.
You're never getting rid of me.
Well, that's why we call you El Cucaracha, baby.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, man. Today we're talking about something that you brought up.
Yes, sir. We had been listening to very recent albums in the last weeks, trying to focus more on what people, the most relevant and topical news. But I decided, no, I'm done with that for this week. And I'm moving, and everything is very difficult right now, so I just want to go back to one of my favorite albums, which is Veni Vidi Vicious by the Hives, baby.
Yeah, you were very aggressive when you nominated this record.
Yes, I believe I either screamed or texted in all caps.
No, yeah, it was at the end of the episode, and you go, we're fucking listening to, you're like, it's not relevant, it came out 20 years ago, you're like, we're fucking listening to it. I was like, all right, dude, like.
But you know what?
There are no rules here, it's just, take it easy.
In support of how I took it, this is a very punk album, and I feel like it.
Fuck yeah.
Is very parallel to the attitude of this record.
Yeah, man, I loved this album.
Oh my god, I'm so happy.
I loved it. It's so weird that, because from the moment it came out, I hate to say I told you so, was has always been a great song. I've always loved that song.
It's one of the classic punk songs in my opinion.
Well, and okay, that's interesting because for me these guys were always lumped in. The Hives were always lumped into the same category as Franz Ferdinand, and they came out at the same time with the Strokes,
kind of like the Vines,
the Fratellis, right. All those kind of bands, and they are. And I like a lot of those bands, but I mean, this record stands out head and shoulders above any of the stuff I heard from any of those bands at this time. For me.
I think,
and it's weird that I loved Hate to Say I Told You So much when it came out, but it didn't get me to explore the rest of their record, and then going back and listening to it, I realized that it's because it's the song that sounds most like all those other bands that I'm just like, I wasn't that interested. I was just like, oh, okay, that song stands out amongst all this other stuff that sounds a lot like it.
Right.
But then listening to the rest of the record, I'm like, God, I wish I'd listened to this in 2000.
It
is so good.
It's such a good record. I had only known of this band because on Rock Band, I believe the first one, they had Main Offender. And
oh, yeah, great song.
Yeah, and so I kind of went to the Hives page. I found Hate to Say I Told You So. They're both off this album, and I checked it out. I just, like, found it out at Barnes & Noble one day, and I was like, you know what, why not? And it turned out to be one of, like, probably one of the top 3 punk albums I enjoy, and one of the top 15 albums of all time for me.
Really?
Yeah, I just love this one, man. It has this perfect, very personal, biased mixture of pop sensibilities, catchability, and aggressiveness and attitude. You know,
dude, and that's not what I expected from this record. Like, hearing "Hate to Say I Told You So,"
right?
You know, I heard the little bit of brattiness in there, but I didn't expect this brash, abrasive. Dude, the way the guitars sound on this whole album is like metal grating against metal. It has like this. They're like buzz saws. And I love it. It's like annoying and obnoxious and abrasive in the best ways.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it's so bratty, and the guitars aren't the most distorted things ever. You know, they're kind of like halfway between clean and distorted, but it's got just enough crunch and just enough cleanliness that it makes for these, you know, you can easily hear what the guitarists are playing. But
it's mixed and produced really, really well.
Yeah.
Because it just to me it sounds like their amps are just turned up to 10.
Right.
And then they're just like, that's the fucking, you know, that dirtiness that we're gonna get out of it is just like pushing it past its, you know, its point. And that's what it sounds like. And it's weird it's not. I feel like describing it sounds like it should really bother you to listen to it. That it'll just give you a headache, but it's because it's so well produced and it's so like the mix is so good on the whole record that it works so well, man.
Yeah, and
they're so catchy. The songs are so catchy.
It's so catchy. As I said before, they have this perfect combination of grit and pop to them that most of their songs are like really bratty and in your face and almost to the point of being annoying, while also having catchy melodies and riffs that you don't really hear riffs like these anymore, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of why this album got a little lost in the mix when it came out in 2000, because that was when this kind of the sound of like old school rock and roll, it was like this deluge, I don't know how to say it, but this flood of bands that all kind of sounded like this a little bit, like bringing back these kind of old school garage rock riffs a little bit. And this, I feel like because of that, these guys got lumped into that whole crew and they kind of got lost in it a little bit. Like, I should have been listening to this when it came out, because this is way more punk rock than anything else. Yeah, and very street punk, like garage rock street punk. It's fucking awesome. I think if you had the opportunity to see them live, it would have definitely changed your mind about them, and like would have blown my mind, made you pay more attention to them, because I've watched live shows and they're just like so like, I guess, dramatic and like, yeah, like the guitarist is like clownish. Yes, he's like going crazy, and they all, they usually have these black and white kind of themes, like suits and top hats or whatever. Love that. Love the mod style that they have, right. Like in their and the singer is fucking great. Like I recommended listening to this album in preparation. Like I started sharing songs with people from the album. Oh yeah. And two of my oldest friends, like they're super super into punk rock. Love all this. We loved all the same stuff growing up. And I sent them a get together to tear it apart. Yes. Yeah, and Inspection Wise 99. Like I sent those two songs to them, and I was like, guys, we were sleeping on this band, and both of their responses was, isn't that the same fucking band that sounds like the Stooges or like the Strokes and all those same bands that are just like, should I really take time to listen to this? And I'm like, guys, this is exactly what I'm saying. I'm like, they're not like these guys at all, and they were just marketed really badly back then.
Yeah, and it's just it's hard to make a distinction if you just hear their hits.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I hate to say I told you so is a sore thumb on this record, and that's like a negative connotation, but it really is.
Yeah.
It doesn't like it's like this thing is not like the others.
And they actually describe this album, I think on the inside sleeve, as a velvet glove with brass knuckles. And
oh god, I love that.
I think that's the perfect way to encapsulate kind of their brattiness and their like ferocity.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. That's such a apt description too, because listening to this more than anything else, I hear the Stooges and the New York Dolls in these songs more than anything else. And both of those bands were super theatrical and kind of like this androgynous punk energy. This kind of like trying to be shocking, but also they were really like the New York Dolls were a really, really good punk band and very polished, like good punk music that basically were making like Chuck Berry, Little Richard songs punk, essentially, like doing that style. And I hear so much of that in the Stooges in this record. So like that's such a great description, because I picture, you know, you think the New York Dolls and the Stooges and you think how like crazy they looked at the time.
Yeah, well,
and then you think of like a velvet glove with brass knuckles. I'm like, I feel like Iggy Pop would have worn that one night.
It's such a weird line, because New York Dolls are very much, a lot of times they get kind of clustered in with glam rock, you know?
Right, which they were the most punk glam rock ever if they're glam
Right.
rock, you know?
And so it's I feel like glam punk might not be the worst description for the Hives sound, if, you know, maybe not their looks.
But yeah, but I mean, they do have that mod thing going. Like, fashion is part of their look. Like, they thought about it all.
Yeah.
You know? So, glam punk is not that far off. Maybe, like, oh, man. I just love that description. I'm just picturing, like, diamond encrusted brass knuckles
right.
on this, like, maroon colored velvet glove, like, driving glove or something. Like, I want to own that now.
Oh, man.
Dude, but I also, like, I wonder, because after listening to The Bronx, you weren't like a huge fan of the record that we listened to for the podcast, but I heard quite a bit of stuff that sounded like The Bronx on this record too.
Well, we didn't listen to The Bronx. We listened to
we listened to The Drips.
Yeah, The Drips.
Right. I heard The Drips are The Bronx. I mean, it sounds exactly like The Bronx.
Yeah, I guess
maybe a little more abrasive on a couple songs, but I heard a lot of The Bronx on this record.
Maybe it's just that little twinge of surf that the Hives don't really have. Maybe that's the difference for me. I don't know. I've been meaning to try The Bronx again.
I think you would like them, especially like I get together to tear it apart, and Inspection 99, which were the two that Inspection Wise 99, and then also Knock Knock. I feel like those three songs, I'm like, this could be The Bronx, and I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference except for the vocals.
Right.
Like music wise, they're doing all the same things. Like all those songs had those moments where they kind of cut the beat in half and let it ride, you know, and it gets like all of a sudden they're going from, you know, these like big bar chords like up on the higher strings to get that kind of like twangy, like really high pitched annoying sound, and they're going straight power chords, you know, and it's just like like they had those moments in those songs that reminded me a lot of The Bronx. And yeah, I feel like that's, you know, I looked at both of The Bronx and the Hives as like similar artists or related artists on Spotify, and they don't show up on each other's. And I'm like,
really?
This is where the algorithm is broken. Like, this is where the computers are wrong. Well, and the same thing happens with like RX Bandits. So you look at RX Bandits, and they're so different now than they were when they started, but Spotify still thinks they're a ska band.
The algorithm seems to favor bands of the same era rather than the same sound.
Exactly.
And like bands that have the same members.
I feel like it's not, and it's not, I think what I'm realizing is the algorithm's not analyzing the music. It's analyzing the information that is in the track or whatever, which is the date, the genre, the whatever.
And like I don't know how
yeah.
you would, I don't know how advanced we are with AIs right now, but like I can't imagine a way you could analyze just music. But
well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's those websites that you can put in a band and they'll show you like it'll be all these different tendrils coming off the band and doing related bands, and I feel like those have been more accurate, especially with stuff like RX Bandits, have been more accurate in giving me related music than Spotify is. Like you put on RX Bandits radio and it's like, dude, Real Big Fish and RX Bandits should not be on the same playlist. Like not even close.
First half of RX Bandits,
right? Maybe like Progress and the albums before it, but yeah, it's weird. So it's like I listen to Hives radio and it's a bunch of like other music I don't really like that much, and I'm like, that sucks because I want to hear what these guys should be paired with.
Right? Yeah.
But either way, I mean, going back to it, fucking out like the guitars are so great, but how good are fucking? I think it's Pele. His vocals are so fun, dude.
Oh man, I mean, he's a huge part of what makes this band is that his vocals sound like kind of so off the wall and aggressive when they want to, but also very playful and sarcastic. You know?
Yeah, I mean, think about like on Find Another Girl, where it's like you don't think his voice should work on that, and it totally does work on this like weird calypso tropical song.
Yeah, that's so completely different from everything else on the album.
Love it though.
But it's kind of a nice break. It's a breather track, I'd say.
Yeah, and it's a cover, which I didn't know.
I've been trying to research that because I heard it and I was like, surely this is not an original song.
I would have never thought that it was a cover, but yeah, it's a Curtis Mayfield song.
Okay.
That they made into. I really love what they did with it, but yeah, his voice, his weird, annoying, nasal, abrasive voice works really well on a song like that. It kind of reminds me of the singer of Idols, like that kind of that range that he has, where it's just he can have this super aggressive, loud, angry voice, but then it's still, for some reason, it works on even a quiet, slow song.
Yeah, and the fact that you can just have this fuzz on the vocals for all the tracks and it doesn't get old.
Right, which is what you didn't like about the drips at all.
Yes.
I remember that was a big complaint of yours. But it's very subtle, the way that they do it on Pele's voice, I think, on this record, because I don't feel like he needs a lot of it.
No, yeah, it's probably a lot of natural, just kind of, intonations or whatever.
Yeah, and I think it's really fun to listen to, and this is one of those bands that I would love to play pretty much any instrument to be in the band.
Man, yeah, I've learned a lot of Hives riffs.
They have great riffs on the whole record, dude.
I mean, just about every song has a riff that's so it sounds just by default iconic or like catchy.
It's so catchy, and Pele's voice in and of itself is an instrument, like going along with everything. So right. I feel like I don't think that often when it comes to vocalists. That to me it just sounds like they're singing on top of the music, but Pele's voice feels like just another guitar or something. Like,
it's so interesting that you say that, because this is a band that has 5 members, if I remember correctly.
Oh, do they? Oh yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, and 2 of them are guitarists, and then there's a separate isolated singer, which is not something you really see a lot. And especially with this album and the songs, I wouldn't dog on you for thinking there's only one guitarist. Because
yeah, I mean, a lot of times they're just doubling up on each other, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of times it seems
just
like
attacking you.
Like the first guitarist is doing the top 3 strings and the other guitarist is doing the bottom 3.
Right.
Of just like a chord.
But you do feel those double guitars when they start doing the power chord parts.
Right.
Or when, like on like what song is playing right now? I fucking love it. The Hives introduced the metric system in time.
Yeah, that's
where it's like you have one of the guitars going like dun 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 dun, and the other one's like it's so like
that's what gives
the 2 of them go back and forth so well.
It gives them such great momentum throughout all these songs.
Especially this song, that like, dude, I want to see that live so bad. Like that,
man.
I feel like, I think their songs just feel so huge to me, and
Right.
it's weird to think that there aren't a lot of punk bands that I feel like could be played in an arena. Like, I feel like I could see these songs in an arena. Like, there aren't a lot of punk bands that can do that, but I feel like these songs just have so much life and energy in them, and like presence and impact.
Yeah, and
they're just so well written and well played and well produced that the Hives just have that essence to their music that, like, I want to hear them in a huge arena.
Yeah, because they have this fullness to all their instrumentals, but it's not a fullness that comes from overproduction, and it still has that raw kind of feel about it.
So dirty.
It's perfect for like a punk stadium.
It's so grimy. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's weird to think this is stadium punk. Like, this is punk rock that, like, because when those drums, like, especially when he's doing some floor tom stuff to, like, really,
yeah, right.
like, really drive it home, like, on, I think it's at the end of Knock Knock. It has this, like, slower, more aggressive, like, almost like Billy Talent type of part to it. Mm-hmm. But it's just like, do, just, like, hitting these floor toms super hard. I'm like, I want to see that live, like, in a massive stage.
Right, for sure.
And that's just how, like, impactful these songs are. And the production, again, it's just like, it's so bratty and dirty and grimy, but not to the point where I don't want to hear it loud as fuck in a massive venue.
Yeah, it just...
Like, it would work in a big venue, even reverberating off the metal.
Right.
Yeah.
This whole album just kind of strikes that perfect balance between, a lot of these bratty and produced elements. That, like, these garage rock and pop rock elements, without feeling like too much of one or the other.
Yeah, I think there is one standout song on this record in a lot of ways that I didn't like. And it's only one.
Yeah?
Can you guess which one?
I mean, it's probably not Find Another Girl.
No, it's not. Because even that one that's such a weird song. That's such a weird cover. The weird plucky synth stuff that they're mixing in there somehow works really well. Like, that song is so weird, but it stands out in a really good way. Honestly, going into this record, I loved Hate to Say I Told You So, and then after hearing the rest of the album, it's my least favorite song.
Dang, okay. Well,
I still like it, though.
This might be a good transition to the Nar Nugs.
Oh, okay.
Because
It is time for choice nugs. It is time for choice nugs.
I'll say my second Nar Nug on this album is Hate to Say I Told You So. Alright.
Great riff.
I'll say,
awesome riff.
Yeah, it's a great riff. I will say it is, it's probably their most famous song, probably their most overplayed song, and
yeah, it was everywhere, dude. I remember it was in like a car commercial
right.
for like years,
which is never a good sign.
No, well, I mean the fucking transplants were in like 2 different shampoo commercials in the 2000s. Like, that was weird as hell. So it happens.
But yeah, I could definitely see this as being the most, like, they were most focused on this being a hit song out of the entire album. But
right.
It's
a very obvious single when you're listening to the album as a whole.
Right.
It stands out. For me, not in a good way.
But for me, it's my second nug. It's the second song I'd ever heard by them. And
what was the first one was Main Offender.
Main Offender, yeah, because it was on Rock Band.
You're right.
But the riff on this one is so good, as you said at the start. I think just the way the vocals go with the instruments is great in a way that I can't really, like, point to other songs as.
I feel like it's the most produced song on the record too. To like in terms of how many layers they added to it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of extra guitar work in there. There's a lot of extra synth stuff in there.
There's a couple more vocals than you'd see in the other songs on this album. Mm-hmm. But it's got like one of my favorite drum fills of all time, which is so weird because it's just that one after the second chorus, I think. It was like go but it goes and then it goes to the bass, and it's just
we haven't given the drummer credit yet. Great fucking drummer in this band.
Oh my god, yeah,
great drummer.
His intro on Get Together to Tear It Apart is so cool and just sets the tone of the song so perfectly.
Yes.
His right hand, he's a monster with speed, man.
Yeah, and he, I mean, like, you were saying like his fill and Hate to Say I Told You So. I feel like the problem that I had with this song after listening to the rest of the record is that the production on it is different than any of the other songs on the record.
Sure.
It feels like they gave this song to someone else. You know, like to another producer. Someone who was like, okay, I hear something in this song. Let me produce it, and then it'll be your single. You know, and because it feels so different. Like the bass is much, much louder. The vocals aren't as distorted.
Yeah, it's got a much cleaner vibe. Just all
much
around.
Cleaner. That weird like phasey guitar at the end feels very like U2-ish. You know, this era of late 90s rock, like pop rock music. Like I said, lots of like more layered guitars. They still had cool decisions that they made, and I love in the chorus where that like really loud abrasive guitar comes in just for the chorus. Where it's like, I feel like that's what the guitar sounded like on the whole song originally. Right. And then the producer took it and he was like, I'll put it in the chorus. Like, I'll put it for 10 seconds in the chorus for you. But he's like, we gotta take that out, you know?
Yeah. Right.
So that was what disappointed me about it, like listening through this record, because it just has, unfortunately, I love all the other songs so much more that I still like this song a lot, but it stands out to me now that I don't like the production on it. That's what was a weird experience for me listening to this, because I really like that song still, but I like the production on all the other stuff. I feel like they obviously made it a single, and that it like kind of irked me.
You'd enjoy it more as a single than in the context of the record.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's a great song. I still love it.
Well, why don't you tell me what one of your favorite songs on this record is?
Oh man, I love every single song on this record.
Yes.
It was very hard to pick even one choice nug over another. Like it was really hard, but I ended up landing, my first one was a Get Together to Tear It Apart.
Yes, that is my first choice nug on the album.
Wow, that's surprising, because there's a lot of good songs on this record. Like,
I mean, I don't think there's a single bad song on this record.
So
no, there isn't. Really hard to decide, but my choices were all the contestants for best songs on the record were tracks 2 through 6.
Oh, okay. So you have a chunk in there that you love a lot.
Yeah, because Die All Right, Get Together to Tear Apart, Main Offender, Outsmarted, and Hate to Say I Told You So.
Yeah, that is a fucking solid run there. But I feel like all the songs on this record are good. I don't think there's like Hate to Say I Told You So is a different vibe, but it's still a fucking awesome song. Like every song is good on this. But Get Together to Tear Apart was the first one that stood out to me. Like it's number 3 on the record, and it's just like this great straightforward punk, but it has tons of like this late 70s, early 80s like anthemic vibes to it. Like when the chorus kind of cuts in half and the guitars ring out a little bit, kind of. Yeah, it's like what Sheer Mag wishes they could do.
Oh man,
essentially is that same 70s arena rock vibe, you know?
Right.
But also, like, I heard some. I don't know if you listen to like the Lawrence Arms or None More Black.
No.
Any of those, Kid Dynamite, any of that kind of like punk stuff from the 2000s. It's like kind of hardcore punk that's super catchy, that's super poppy.
Okay.
And that I heard that a lot in a get together, and man, fucking love that song, dude.
It's this is the song that I have the most fun pretending I'm the singer to.
Yeah.
Just
this is gonna be a great album to drive around and listen to for me, dude. Yeah.
And the momentum that the song carries the whole time is fantastic, and it's energetic. I love back and forth stuff from backup vocals to the main vocals, and this has a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah, good group vocal stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, that energy, this is another one that, like, it reminded me of the Bronx a lot. And that chorus is just very Bronx-ish. And I just love the decisions. Like, the riffs, the riffage on this whole album is so fucking good.
Yeah.
And yeah, this song is, like, again, it's just, like, super catchy, but they break the rhythm up a little bit. I like the way that they, like, bring in and out the guitars at times and everything. So, like, all of that is just such good songwriting, and it makes it really fun. And yeah, this is one of those that I'm like, we should have covered this in Mortalis, dude.
Ugh, don't even say that, dude.
That would have been such a fun cover, dude. Before I go into my second choice nug, I do have to say, like, again, I have to call out, because it'll explain my rating once we get to that too.
Okay.
Is I loved every song on this record, and it was really, really hard for me to pick my favorites, and there was several that were in contention for choice nugs, including, like, Find Another Girl. I really love. It's kind of like, again, the Idols record, the Beachland Ballroom.
Yeah,
that song on their last record, and one of the other ones, it's just like, it stands out to me in such a good way, and it's so different in such a good way. But Knock Knock was also almost a choice nug.
Yup, loved Knock Knock. Just
I wrote in all caps, I want to play this song live. Like, it is so fun.
Yeah.
And another one of those arena feeling, like, just so much fucking energy. And then Supply and Demand. Like,
yes.
That song makes me want to, like, march to a fucking soccer game with a bunch of hooligans in London, and we're all singing the song.
One of my favorite parts of that song is right before the very last chorus, where he's like, Supply D, and then one of the guitars is just feedbacking, and it's just...
Yes, love that feedback. And then, like, that's when they're holding out the notes on the main riff and, like, ringing it out, like, near the end, and just, like, letting it just, like, live and breathe, and it's so good. And it reminded me of the movie Green Street Hooligans. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No.
You should, dude. It's an awesome movie about soccer hooligans with Elijah Wood, one of my favorite actors. But my second choice nug, it bounced around a whole bunch, but it's got to be the Hives introduced the metric system in time.
Really?
It's...
Wow.
I think a big part about it is that it comes right after Hate to Say I Told You So, and it couldn't be more different than that song.
Immediately so much more ballsy and punky.
Dude, just just the drums going off. It stands out in such a different way because of the song that's right before it, but it's, like, so awkward. It's like, after Hate to Say I Told You So ends, it's such a mid-tempo, catchy, bouncy song, and the next one...
Yeah. And
I love it.
It has this dichotomy, the whole song, where it's just, like, the drums and the vocals, and then everything comes in.
Yeah, and then the jankiness of the guitars are added back into the mix.
Yeah.
Like, we lost it on Hate to Say I Told You So, and it's like, God, I love that jankiness, and I love the monotonous, like, synth note that they just play throughout the verse. So good. And then it just when it goes back to and then the guitars cut out really quick, and the drums keep going with the bass. It's just, they're just so, like, the choices that they made on this record in terms, and, like, in their songwriting and stuff, it just, they know how to, like, make things and, like, have impact and just stand out and just be so fun.
For sure. Yeah.
And that song in particular, like, I think that is my favorite song on the record because of that really, like, just snare hitting every single beat. The guitar is just loud and just yeah, I love it, man. I love it so much.
It's just so in your face when it needs to be.
It's relentless, dude. But it also, like, they're not... I think it would be harder... It probably wouldn't be as enjoyable. Like, it probably wouldn't be a choice nug of mine if they didn't make those choices of, like, cutting out the guitars at a perfect time.
Right, yeah.
Where it's like, it is not this... it's not an onslaught for 2 minutes. There's, like, moments of, like, you can breathe.
The dynamics of the song are extremely important to what make it so good.
And that's what I think is my favorite part of this record is how dynamic it is and how like relentless and angry and aggressive it is, but it has so much range.
Yeah.
And not just talking about Find Another Girl, right? It's just like this range of tone throughout the whole record that they just, man, they people are sleeping on these guys. I feel like they're extremely underrated.
I've told Alejandro and Pierce from Burn Van so many times to listen to this album. They refuse to do it.
You know, well, I'm at least glad to see. That's ridiculous because, like, it's the same thing with my friends that I suggested those two songs and they were just like, really? The Hives? Like, aren't they just like all the... And it's like, no, dude. Like, give them a chance. And, I mean, but I'm glad to see that on Spotify they have nearly 2.6 million monthly listeners.
I mean, yeah.
So they're at least loved, which I like because it's a bummer if there's a band that's as good as these guys that no one's listening to them.
Right.
And a lot of people are listening to these guys, so that's fun.
I don't think I would call them. They're on the edge of underrated, I guess I'd say.
I think they are.
But you could make an argument either way, and I think you'd be fine.
Do you think are there other albums? Do you like them as much?
No, I've tried a lot.
Really?
I've tried a good number of their discography, and none of it to me is as good as this album.
Oh, that's disappointing.
They have other good songs on other albums, but this whole thing is just like peak punk.
This
to
is
me.
gold, dude. This is fucking gold.
But with that said, I think maybe you should get to the ratings.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
What is your rating?
Yeah, this album really, really surprised me, dude. I didn't think I wasn't gonna like it. I definitely thought I was gonna enjoy this record. I just didn't think I was gonna enjoy it this much. Not nearly as much as I did.
Right.
It really surprised me. I did not expect this street punk garage rock sound. I didn't expect this abrasive, raw, dirty, gritty punk. And I've been reading this punk history book called Please Kill Me, and I'm going through the history of punk essentially from the beginning, from like the Velvet Underground all the way through. So right. Iggy Pop and the Stooges and the New York Dolls, I've been reading a lot about them recently and listening to them a lot recently. So like hearing this album and hearing that the Hives in 2000 were trying to bring back that sound, it just makes me feel like I missed out on like 22 years of being able to love and enjoy this record.
Oh man. But hey, you got 22 years to enjoy it, man.
I kind of think the timeline is pretty solid there. Yeah, so I'm just gonna keep listening to it until my end. But it's I just feel like there were so many good choices made on this record, too. Like in the songwriting and the production, there's just hard to say anything bad about it. So
right,
I fucking love it. Like after every time I've listened to it. And it's so short, it's like 27 minutes, which is like perfect because it leaves that fucking like feeling of I want to listen to it again. It's like right after I'm done, I'm like, wow, I fucking love that record.
Yeah, in that aspect, it's so weird because it is like 12 songs, and it comes under half an hour, and it's so weird how much quality and like stuff they cram into this 28-minute long album.
None of this sounds like filler. Yeah, like, this is all killer.
Yeah,
they went to the Sum 41 school of songwriting for sure.
The school we should all go to.
The school we should all aspire to attend.
Right.
I just think there were so many, like I said, like so many good choices made on this, and it just sounds. It's another one of those records that I'm like, this was written for me. So this is a solid 9.4.
Jeez.
Like it is again, man. Like this is, I haven't had that feeling often where I hear an album and I go, I'm almost sad that I haven't heard it before.
You're sad you haven't spent your life with it.
Yeah, like this is like just now entering my life, and I'm like, man, I could have had 22 years of rocking this fucking album, and showing it to people. It's kind of like, man, like people are sleeping on this. I never hear anyone talk about the Hives.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, yeah, I agree with everything you said. It's got these great riffs. It has these great pop sensibilities while not sacrificing any of their raw aggressiveness.
Right.
It's a velvet glove with brass knuckles. That's the perfect way to describe it.
Perfect. I love that description, dude.
If you just want some good punk rock that you can sing along to and still get the lead out, this is a perfect album for it. I gotta give this one like a 9.6.
Yeah.
Just because I've done little scenarios where I'm on stage and I'm singing these songs so many times, pretending I'm a rock star. I've learned all these riffs, and I've been wanting to write music like this for so long that I can't say it's not a huge influence on my music.
Yeah, man. Like I said, like I knew that you liked this album. You've told me about this album. You've told me for a long time to check out this record.
Yeah, yep.
And I'm so glad I finally did, that I was forced to have to finally check it out.
I did hold you at gunpoint at one point, yes.
Yeah, I mean, like we've said, you are constantly pointing a gun at me in the camera.
Yeah.
When we're doing these episodes. So.
And you know the bullet will go through.
I already know. You've already told me.
You've already...
You take LSD that one time and believe that you shot a bullet through the fucking camera. You MK Ultra'd me. Like, I already know. I mean, I remember.
You still have that wound. So it's not like you can forget very easily.
Is that what that lightning scar on my forehead is?
Yeah, that's what that is.
That's when you shot me in the head
through
a camera? Okay. Well, I mean, that's one mystery solved. But another mystery, too, is that, like, if people are wondering if it's just subjective that we love this album so much, which it absolutely is. But honestly, this is ranked, like, this has ended up on numerous, like, best of lists, this album. Like, it's on the top 500 greatest rock and roll and metal albums of all time list. It's number 399, and Rolling Stone put this as number 91 on the list of their top albums of the decade from 2000 to 2010. Like, this was on the top 100 records. So critics love this album too. Pitchfork put, Hate to Say I Told You So on one of their best songs of the decade also. So, like, people know about these guys, but if y'all have not listened to this album and you like punk rock, like, fucking listen to this record.
Give it a try. It is a little bratty. It's a little in your face. It might even be a little pompous, but
oh man, it's brash. Yeah.
If you can push past that stuff, you're gonna find a fantastic punk rock, almost even pop album that I think you're gonna hold on to for a bit.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is definitely gonna be one that I'm gonna listen to a lot for the next 22 years.
Well, thank you, buddies, for listening to this episode of the podcast. What do you think about the album? If there was a way that you could figure out how to tell us that, I'd like to hear it, because I've been trying to think about that idea for years.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a way for someone to, like, leave, like, a comment, or, like, just a comment on the episode, or
right,
like,
yeah,
or to somehow like something that we've done, to tell us, somehow tell us that they like it by just, like, a thumbs up, even.
A thumbs up, like a 5-star review on iTunes or something like that.
Something like that would suffice. You can rate us on Spotify. You can rate us on iTunes. I'm pretty sure you can rate us on a lot of streaming stuff. And the more that you rate us, the more people get recommended our episodes. So definitely do that too. Our Instagram is at EBPcast. Brett is at Brett Hanrahan. I'm at Jean-Luc Guitard. We have, we're going to try and maybe do some shorties coming up soon. We're trying to catch up on our schedule a little bit.
It is... We'll see how Seattle has changed me throughout these next couple weeks.
I feel like we're gonna listen to nothing but shoegaze for the rest of the year on this fucking podcast.
We get shoegaze and 90s grunge, baby.
There we go. Yeah. Well, on the next episode, we're not listening to anything that's even remotely close to those two genres. We are gonna check out Charlie XCX's new album Crash, and I'm actually looking forward to it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, because like you mentioned in the beginning of the episode, I've been trying to bring more timely, relevant records to the podcast, just in hopes of, like, more people checking us out and giving the podcast a little wider audience, because we do very fucking specific albums for our tastes. But this is one that I honestly, and every one that I brought to the podcast, but this one again, it's like it doesn't really usually fall under my purview, but I've heard some of Charlie's stuff before and was surprised at how much I liked it. So I'm interested in this record.
Well, I have listened to this record a couple times, and I won't spoil anything too much, but I will say this, is that the treasure is under the third floor.
The treasure's under the third floor.
Yep.
I love when you're so mysterious, and you're I love when you get cryptic.
Well,
that's my favorite. That's my favorite type of Brett, is cryptic Brett.
I'm into ARGs, and
I know what that means.
This album is a huge ARG, Illuminati, conspiracy type of thing.
It's got ARG energy.
Yeah, and so
I like that.
Just remember that phrase. Go ahead and decode it, and you'll find the next step to the clue.
Yeah, and if you follow us on Instagram, we will send you the decoder ring.
Yes.
In the mail, and every episode we'll give you one letter of the code.
It's
at the end of the episode.
We actually only do the decoder by fax.
Okay, well it's a lot of math.
Yeah.
That people will have to do, but that's the first clue: is the treasure is under the third floor.
Yep. So just remember that.
Yeah. All right. Well, buddies, let us know what you think Brett's getting at here. I think he saw the Batman recently, and he's inspired by the Riddler, which is a little kind of freaking me out. But thanks for listening, buds. Let us know what you think of this record. Let us know what you thought of this episode. Let us know what you think of Seattle, Brett. Because I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure what I think of this guy.
I'll make a couple, just anon pages and comment under the podcast, as I usually do about that.
Yeah, make some ghost accounts. I mean, that's all who follows us. It's just accounts of AI people I've made up.
It's sex bots or accounts that we've made. Yes.
Ooh, sex bots.
Yeah, dude, we're that good.
All right, buddies. Well, let us know what y'all thought. Give us a follow. We love you guys. Thank you for listening. Brett, what would you rate this? This little thing.
This first episode back, I'm rating this a 9.6.
I'm doing a 9.6. Yeah, me too. This was good.
Lucas, this was a good.
Bye, buddies.
Bye.
And a 3, 2, 1. Now, stop it now. Did you already stop it? You weren't recording the whole time?